This is a movie I really had to get all my thoughts together for. This is really a lot going on. Oh boy, Spider-Man No Way Home. It's so much fun, but it's also the most emotional superhero and Spider-Man roller coaster of a movie that I think we've ever seen. Ever. Period. Let me just start with, first of all, I love the opening scene of the movie. The immediate aftermath of Peter's identity having been released into the world, thanks to Mysterio. Which, by the way, Mysterio, side note, one of my favorite villains. Because not only is it a very unique take on this comic book character, but I also like Mysterio because he won. One of the few villains to win in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because he really did win in a way. I mean, he's got killed off in the last movie, but his hero status that he wanted to give to the world stayed all the way through No Way Home. Nobody still has any idea that he was actually a villain. But yeah, I love the opening scene, especially that tracking shot in the apartment when they get back. All the tension starts at that point in the movie and doesn't go away. This movie has so much tension because it's a lot of fun. Like the last two Spider-Man movies, it is a lot of fun. But I think this movie is easily tops those movies because it has more emotion and more tension. It's darker. Spider-Man suffers in this movie. The last two movies, while I love them, they were more kind of, oh, Spider-Man adventure, haha, cutesy kind of stuff. And that's fine, you know, it just felt like, you know, it could be any teenage superhero. And it just happens to be Spider-Man. This movie does a good job of not doing that so much. It takes itself a little more seriously. Spider-Man really does suffer a lot in this movie. I feel bad for this kid. He disappears for 5 years, comes back immediately, has his identity revealed not long after, and yeah, now his Aunt May's gone, and by the end of the movie, fantastic ending, but still so bittersweet and crazy emotional. Not only does everybody forget about who Spider-Man is, but they forget that Peter Parker even exists. And that really, this ending really personally messed with me. After I left the theater, I wanted to just reach through the screen and give Peter Parker a hug. Peter won. Let's get to that. So yeah, the big secret that really wasn't a secret because it was quite a terribly kept one. It's true. The other Spider-Men are in this movie. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And I love their chemistry. All three Spider-Men. I especially loved Andrew in this movie. I think I could tell he was having a lot of fun. And for me, he's the most fun to watch. Tobey was great though too. He's a mentor to these other Spider-Men. Really, to Peter 1, he's a mentor for the most part. But it's crazy to see Tobey Maguire playing mentor Spider-Man after that original trilogy. And that's the biggest thing I loved about this movie that I really mostly took away was not only the chemistry between the three actors, but also the villains. They humanized the villains. Before this movie came out, I just assumed the whole time, and I was worried, I was kind of worried that fan service was gonna drag the plot down. But this movie is a very good example of fan service done right. They humanized the villains. They especially gave a lot of attention to Green Goblin and Electro. It's great seeing all these villains, not just those few, but all of these villains in this movie get a kind of a second chance, even though they may not be the exact same versions of themselves as in the original Spider-Man trilogy and the Amazing Spider-Man movies. It was still great to see them not only get played by the same actors, but kind of have a little more closure, especially with their respective spider people from their movies. That was really good to see. I enjoyed that. And the villains and the past Spider-Men it was good to see them pretty much tell their stories again. Not just for us, fans or people who have already seen those past movies, but also for new people who are maybe just seeing the new Tom Holland Spider-Man movies for the first time, just completely without having seen the older movies. It works for both groups to have these villains tell their stories and the heroes tell their stories. Again, not exactly the same. You can tell because not only are their appearances very different or only slightly different, but when they tell their stories, they're not exactly the same as what we saw happen in the older movies. I love how they mesh together the ability for old fans to get past references and for new fans, new audiences, new people to watch this movie and hear these old villains' stories and be able to get hooked. You really don't need to see the old movies to get hooked to the story and to these characters. All of them. I'm so glad that they nailed the fan service. This is fan service done right. And I cannot stand when it's not done right. Star Wars has been a victim of too much fan service. I love Star Wars. I love the Disney era of Star Wars. I enjoy those movies and The Mandalorian. But the fan service just keeps going. I'll give you a really good example. In The Mandalorian, love the show. It's one of my favorite shows. Absolutely love The Mandalorian. I noticed, in the first season, for few episodes, they were quoting the movies a lot. The character would say a line that was clearly a reference to the movies. Original trilogy and prequel trilogy. And at first that's like, oh, nice, I understood that. But then all throughout that season and into the second season, they just keep doing it. They just keep quoting the movies. And eventually I was like, oh my God, stop, please. So that's that's a really good example of too much fan service or fan service just, yeah. But No Way Home doesn't really do that. I want to see more movies, or particularly sequels that follow up originals, or that are movies that are reboots. And I want to see them take this approach to fan service. They nailed it perfectly. And I want to see more of that in future sequels of certain franchises. I want to see it done right, like this movie did it right. All right, a few more things I want to talk about. Oh my God, we got Daredevil in this movie. Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock making a 30-second cameo. I literally was like, oh my God. Again, not so much of a secret, kind of a secret, but still, what a surprise. Like all the other surprises in this movie. Oh, and the mid-credit scene with Venom. What a tease. I mean, the mid-credits scene of Venom Let There Be Carnage, that was a tease, but combined with the mid-credits scene of No Way Home, it's the ultimate gotcha tease. I was like, oh my God, you kidding me? They just brought him into the MCU just to take him away. But we still may get Venom. Still, a little bit of Venom is still left in the MCU. We still got Venom in the MCU, kinda. Alright, so those are the major points I wanted to hit. After seeing No Way Home, there's a lot to think about. I'm glad I had all this time to really think about it. About a week since I saw it. This is quite the perfect. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. It's quite the perfect superhero movie. Perfect sequel too. Perfect trilogy capper. I know we're gonna get more Tom Holland Spider-Man in the future, but as of now, it's a trilogy. I think it was more emotional and roller coaster-like than Endgame. There, I said it. I really do. I really felt when Aunt May's death, that entire ending, the last 15-20 minutes of the movie, I was a mess inside, and we need more superhero movies like that. What an experience. Alright, go check this movie out. I'm sure you have already if you're watching this video, because there's a lot of spoilers I just gave away. Happy holidays. See you at the next react.